Yes, so that we might have been very interested right now. That is the report like John Adams love, like John Adams might have really exactly been there of that is like lost about the happiness. Not with that, but like John Adams might have been on to bear because that the subject behind like John Adams like conflict situation being characterized. And the along the lines like the John Adams might have been absolutely so might have been the case that we must make. And at that point, it's such a situation that when Jonah might have been that we have here now the time that like at that point, Jonah might have set up practice like top priorities will definitely enjoy to save this like my Lysa might have been the case that we break. Certainly, Jonah might have and I'm sitting even breaking that like before Jonah is love like Jonah might have figured out about that. And what might be avoidable trend is the actuality of that extreme terms debates on platform, but as well as like the social government that particularly like between first week that change might be like that sort of case. It might have been a catch of the case that made my good theory of political. Certainly still John Aaron because of lot might have not revealed about like the secret between the training and something to Lysa might have been the case of being president. Like Donald might have not revealed that to Lysa, but like Donald might have most likely revealed to that Lysa that what Donald might have been Donald might have told Lysa that it's based that like Donald along the lines of like Donald is not going to that make come back from this like kind of hunger situation. And the along the lines of like Donald must have much time left for once like the loss of and that like the landscape are like behind that Donald like I'm going to do it but still that like Lysa has to like they ensure like remain silent and don't react against like the landscape. Lysa was that like I believe Lysa like the landscape will bring down Lysa as well and I believe that Johan wants Lysa to like survive. Uh, at all costs might be along the lines like Johan might have like intensely like told Lysa as this like last might have been like the case but being pregnant. So that lights are an extremely painful man of black. And put that up to the race within the place like the answer might have easily agreed to that. Genre might have been affected. So like genre what genre might have like might have been to that for like lights to like escape from like the king of Lavish once like the long term that genre will be happening in such a way so as to like not don't create any sort of like efficiency within like the team planning within that the landscape might be around the lines from both the conduct owner might also like that means might put the game so like the loss of like owner happened like at that point that guys are kind of almost like they that active they acting up that she needed like she needed space and she to near the to the state away from like the train landing to la on construction might be around the night of the thing like at that point might have so and that's the thing landing and might have that way definitely escape that might be good like light on might have escape on the plane landing without saving because people might have been what might have happened to me and before like Ronald might have definitely been able to that they might be putting which is like one of major with deal with like what things that like once like the law like happens like definitely over they definitely ensure to like how ensure to like retail like whatever like wanna it was can handle the things by retail like wanna uh by bringing like enough to the announcement like wanna by having actually so might have been the case even then like at that point and that Donor until the final because Johnson might have maybe figured out that we leave for the frame system for his keeping frame picking that so the ultimate goal might be to like have the landscape take up that has good power and that has good from the substance of that the position of that thinking and repeating landing as well as that the position of that hand of the game to have that landscape that take a so question might be of that be very soft priority one. That's what we might be along the lines of long many figures one long might have been together. So like one long arrow might have been saved to like what we that like one like the long long arrow having and that like Robert stability when adapt and to the motion of like transporting at that point like financial slash profit and really would be turning again like would be attempting to like bring down some of certainly your might have been already compared that like succeed along with like after like John had lost like the loss of Black Howard as well. Uh, might be a high possibility of like having maybe an internet like John might have already theory because of like because like it might have been like soon before like not much before like the loss of like John Adam had like John might have finally figured out that basically the reason for his like basically being like an animal might have been like the new player. So like by then for like John Adam still like born about like being in danger like might have been well important for like John Adam due to lack of lack of love serving. Might have been a new favorite. At that point, like as a not friend who went John Adam might have recently figured that like the loss of like John Adam happened that is certainly adapt will be becoming and affecting me at that point. That's the landscape like okay, and they will be definitely trying that trend down and here over but also that as well. Might have been along the lines John Adam might have been so like to prevent that John and to then say over and unlike John Adam might have sending that a crucial message, a coded message to with like Lysa before John might have been first might have come in reality. Definitely it might have been the message I'm going to make such a message might exist and that message might be connected to some sort of like a private conversation in like the symbols between like John Adam as well as Black Robert as well as Peter like they might have some sort of like a private conversation in like the constantly like connecting to that private conversation like Jonathan might have like support message to Lysa for like and might have that's the task with Lysa to deliver that for message to eventually to like and stuff like to without wasting the time or of like Jonathan work to like make sure to like strength to that after the team strength to like and to like deliver that for message to like and that might be like the task that like Jonathan might have that Lysa might have materials that need might be remembered so that sort of like notice might be intended for like donors to that system like aware adapt about that Robert and Philip adapt being in by the time they will be getting the sort of message being in such an absolute dangerous situation by like the landscape. Also the team might be getting madam sitting on the plan that Tyrion might be such a character who might believe that he is that okay, courageous and bold when in actuality deep down that Tyrion might be an extremely insecure character, might be attracted to the nature might be very ambitious because that I'm still remembering that like everyone might have like for a long time might have been aware of like the secret between something and Jamie might be that actually the day that we yeah everyone finding out about it like without like something and Jamie finding out that everyone might still find out simply figure it out might have been like the case but since then that everyone might have been insecure about that secret about like anyone's finding out about that secret might have been like the case but so that definitely might be the expectation by that like by now and that was that statements like association of carry on like by now carry on might be in actually well and might have already figured out that basically the brand itself might be connected to its lab like a brand actually happening to like find out about like the secret in between that as a free and game might be and on the lines like Carry might have already figured that out might be and yet that might be extremely insecure about that revealing it to that yet in that student might be consciously remaining silent might be that if Kevin might be that could be actually something by the yet like about the coming lecture might be extremely feeling indebted to that adapt for like about remembering that adapt in like the step up might help out to multiply a lot like the might see that to get the so like Perion might be deep down having that deep feeling of that in-depthness towards like adapt and like staff and might be like that able to give to me. So like a clear spring from like Catherine and Perion would be meeting like I'm saying Lysa into the that interaction really ending up with revealing that upon the next anything that for let's say it might take the that John and might have left Lysa like upon in that conversation that Lysa revealing to in front of William to I don't know to that like but like at that point that Lysa okay it might be unaware of that WhatsApp code message to the needs. But like I'm probably putting like Curion by doing like the code message like and for Curion to be able to like get it like one that don't have when trying to like trying to like reduce the old or maybe might be like to be putting branded. So I'm pretty much Ethereum right now is like I want to like kind of might not be able to that afford right as well that communicate like alone but like then I maybe might have like the power to that communicate with like small about like and it's like that thought might exist within in an state within then might be like that about the selection might not be or aware of just because we might be like acting to face the kind of thing. So like we are about like the but would make it to like an arrow see like at that point of like that's also like fearing like the talking of things and at that point of like how do I go use that using systems at that point of making and to this and how do I got that point doing is absolute maximum to like leads the way to have this student leads the way and is the cross the feet and basically start to like cross the feet and that way gives the courage to like all the remaining forces behind it. To be along the like how do I go doing that giving it to like absolute maximum skill that not even Canada would we have like will be way of that problem actually narrow see like it's not narrow so like I'm thinking that start about being too hard on like the post and focusing at that point then I was like seeing like examples something like at that point still not focusing like then was like in a turn and see this voice like telling start about to stop and basically like then was at that point like walking up to like and basically chatting like at least at that point still come but like in like the right manner like suppose quickly calm down like person which might be at that point we lead with that approach here like the moment like control the patterns that for when that to be the scenario like what I'm doing and the moment then it will be bad in the host like before quickly comes down and like doing black to black now that I'm doing and that way like I'm developing and then I was like talk to like the whole like it like really like something for like then and the feeling like talking to that kind of person while fighting it and like at that point like then speaking to like the kind of person and telling it that there's nothing to fear the narrow field is like nothing to fear and the flipping like the that of like the narrow field might be extremely low that like or the packet might be certainly tall enough to be able to like cross like the narrow field might be like actually the city then it's like that you think that talking to like camera person to camera person then trying to like the moment then the two way down talking to camera person like I'm trying to start travel and like to the entirety of that of the documentary as well as to the as to job as well as job as well as job like I mean like camera like post like straight away after like a communication by send the from between comes of the space that straight away dealing like the way and basically starting to like talk like the narrative to like the religion and so like at that point it's from those different and then I was like looking at like the remaining of like the final homes and at that point also different like the remaining homes the well being that have been started through then and I'm different that the remaining of final homes well from like following like the whole like and that that was like the narrative that so on the point for like the in the game like the first part yeah and what the recently ending up for the like the narrative like the scenario that like at that point of when the doctor army like only seniors who make from like the KDC of like of tenors and definitely Drago as well but they won't have any sort of ego issues, but like instead would be enough to really extremely proud that basically that like even Calvago and say that kind of like have so much of potential that we was able to like have like the property also like give the right to like the property to like to electric land actually from like scenario. So they are the lines and those when you then Calvago to be feeling absolutely proud of like at that point is like feeling the scenario and even though because at that point I would feel that not liking that all the attention and that like and also the I think important that and also the yeah at that point it's like the now that I'm focusing I want to say something right now. Also, I believe I got your impression right now that like Albert might be extremely capable and might be stay down having that safety on the attention. connecting to like the target might be like activity against the instrument and like might most likely have to do with like how like the Harris Targaryen was when he was like the king. Like basically the thing Harris Targaryen role like role might have done like might have done the deep stuff within like Robert, a deep stuff like absolute fear within that Robert. Whereas England was like the Targaryen of even like the very name Targaryen and since then might have been like that related to the mind consideration so like the Levi Vegetarian movement right now is definitely for like unlike if you don't have things like I'm going to think yeah, or definitely really ending up getting brought down to slowly it's definitely like the scenario that so it's still like I'm right now looking for like usually like a lot of like Robert happening but like I'm looking more like it was to the I love to what we will I love to and it's been done betrayal for like Robert by Jamie like one was that I'm looking by Jamie for like roughly like one possibility that I'm looking or like one possibility that I'm looking for like so like for the like literally that one possibility that I'm looking so roughly I'm looking that Robert was able to get down through this then I'm looking a lot of factors that during that debate and that ending up being uh, coincidentally ending up being favorable to that result at that point and it's a take absolute advantage of that situation to went down over at that point. That way, like either through like country or like Jamie or through like or like how over which we have might be some are really clearing that spiritual law happening through a Targaryen itself. The sort is that the other possible multiple possible scenario through which like I'm noticing only one of these multiple individuals that I'm noticing through which like spiritual law of like over might happen. That lead might come there and I'm looking at telling Robert that is that they can station like a bunch of like soldiers after basically like the other end shorelines of like the narrow sea and basically like it up I'm looking even at that point telling Robert that he still fight like stand that basically to like a choice of that what your will telling them might be an ambush type with legacy responsibility to be along the line like adapt telling to that property and that point like so like to the station soldiers attack the government and basically give like the explorer in fact ends up being a fight about what is said and like if that the Sandrago and like what starts to like so therefore the perspective also like start to like cross like the narrow field. At that point, like even if that happens, like the host would be still struggling with their answers. They are well known fear towards like one which might be specifically military and definitely lag for so at that point like the soldiers and like the shoreline would like take advantage of that situation of like the Pakistan while they will be from like the narrow sea to like bring down like then they're being like the definitely army before they make it to like the shoreline before they make it across uh, to be along the lines of like the advice that I'm looking forward and like the telling to like Robert Wade get like that because the created that still telling Robert that basically to also not to like bring down channels but for them to like at that point for like to give the or to like chapter channels and put channels into like at that point to chapter and to like an kind of state and basically to let the crew reveal himself in due time if like kind of pregnant. Yes, so like but we can good and right now that is the for Robert like person might be drowning in that and stood fear towards like any Targaryen more than ever. Robert might have been into like and that like might be like that with the situation of like that and full fear of like Robert might be the case of even screen so at present like that might be like the only source of like hope and like of hope and any courage for like Robert if that's the situation Robert might be like that with the situation so that we have to different like Robert eventually ending up coming down to like at that terms and basically like definitely I'm different like Robert definitely taking at that back as like and affecting not Robert definitely not letting Eddard go at all. Because like Robert might be so feeling extremely so extremely scared right now, might be like it is the even scared. So definitely when Robert taking Eddard back and affecting and agreeing to that Eddard's term of that not bringing down and other like scenarios that I'm looking. But still I'm looking for Robert right now. Because created a like heading Eddard that they will be turn voice that they will that like Robert will capture and put kind of in a representing state and usually like the truth will reveal itself because of like when for example and at that point of the that Robert won't be listening to that any of that attacks lead to that pick up and to the end of the line of like the conditions that Robert was heading attack to which that can probably adapt agreeing because like even after like dominating like that might be played more for like the positive of that so actually lying about like the thing you said and even in like the worst case scenario like Zora just like might be saying before like even such a case like that might be placed more of the soul that is more basically enough the confirmation on like sort of like yeah, never being able to like cross like the narrative and solely due to the fact of like enough agreeing to like the demands of like to the condition of like over the time like the scenario that was the right and right now. Yes, so like at least my experience right now that like Donna final word maybe might be connected to that well free of the trails of like the landscape which might exist at least my book generation that is sitting on the like the young friend act even for the and game is like grandparents and great grandparents might have might all have a freak of like children might be like by them might be like actively accepting of friends to like the final moments of like like Jonah might have been fully convinced that if he all the days and all the years had thought that the Lannisters still have stayed through even in the age of Black Jamie and Turkey have even to the person have stayed through to their ways of like stay through to their ways of like that are betrayal might be along the lines of like war like maybe Jonah might have mentioned like I'm with the which like but leave of very interesting right now before like before Robert lost would be usually having like improvement for like Robert to like definitely find out about like the secrets of like Robert or the like the scenario that I'm researching and at that point like Robert being absolutely strong and extremely disappointed in like Robert product and I'm looking that Robert wanted to show up by out of like the king of landing and basically setting him off to serve as like the night watch at like the war. And that way I'm like eventually for like Roberts or the ending up and being part of like the team of like Snow as well as like Sam. Well, their mission at like the their night watch mission at like the war like in the injury like with the physical and the human very ambition right now that like subsea that often might be strong even that like to see the property of that level private actually figuring out how to like about figuring out how to like of like the analysis and all and to what like the that the lines of like that possibly might be what naturally the field might be strongly feeling and might be like to the begins with you number yeah like some field and so then might be probably line to like Robert to calm Robert down to like not cross Robert to like panic and to manipulate Robert to like basically to change Robert's decision and take definitely take it back as like the answer like as present like he might be strongly feeling that it leads like the idea which makes it to the king of landing to that is like the leading like the army like the king landing to that is the only way of like the army like the king landing to chat or to even stand a chat or in that bring down that automatically happening. And also, like, I'm still remembering between that, like, the food actual plant might need to, like, only use it to, like, bring down, like, carbohydrate. Might be, like, it is, transition. Definitely want, like, carbohydrate is very good at that. The mobile, the battery mobile, like, the Prakia may be straight away plummeting would be along the lines of things that something might be feeling confidence, something that, and at that point, for that, something to that, before that, that is in front of Prakia, I mean, to that advise forward to do exactly such a way where like front like level point the army will be using the standard mobile like at that point for like the army of getting is landing to that focus on capturing that's the remaining of that nervous might be and basically uh, as they person that is the impact of like the arming of like the things landing to be along the line of like the actual plan, the plan of like what we might be something and that way the like the things landing army gaining that additional is like the remaining of point at that point like so we might be strongly shooting that will be at that point that the might be absolutely no need at all for like and at that point like so we might be planning on like step bring down adapt with like the locals and basically then to like replace and then sitting in my premises and like something still in actuality might be having that absolute plan to like definitely somehow manage to like convince Jamie uh, to still be like the hand of like the team after like bringing up and that might be definitely and to have like and to also bring down Robert and like have John team like the king and basically that way to have like the landscape and like the top option might be definitely that strong top priority. Yes, so like definitely William right now like before John Adams was black, we might have started to like feel that strong succeed towards like succeed and having involvement in like that extreme that full depth of lacking organ might have been educated layman trained. So definitely I'm different like John Aaron might have been certainly the huge extreme talent of looking Robert might have happened all of a sudden might have been born in the national layman trained. So that might have came in such an aspect of like John Aaron might have been well aware of like the lifestyle of lacking Robert and still that with like the huge amount of that experience have like still it might have not added up at all for like John Aaron see like how Robert ended up in such a state that might have been that that necessity is certainly unfriendly. So that might be how that John Aaron might have uh, started to like have a slight suspicion towards like something possibly having an involvement in like the system. Might have been checked against certainly unfriendly. So definitely I could bring it might have been maybe as part of that John Aaron wanting to figure out that the actual source of that the experience that so that we Robert that like John Aaron tracing or that abandoned offerings of Black Robert. It might have been out of Black John Aaron, might have been part of Black John Aaron investigating to find out that Robert had changed his mind and basically all of a sudden and decided to like, give out a whole lot of his like wealth towards like abandoned offering. And it's through such a manner that like Robert ended up as an extreme that to figure this out might be along the lines that of that could be for like loner raping like King Robert like abandoned law might be negative. So that should like bring about that up to clarity that it is King Robert having spent such a amount of like money onto this lack of sort of like then the black John Aaron might have felt that basically then definitely that and John Aaron might be able to like confirm it that basically because the like the culture behind like the state that of like involved might be along the lines of like might have been an attempt by John Aaron. Yes, so like the flame of the theory question right now is for like to that India right now. What's the ego and he really big training then it's really embarrassing manner for like training. There's like the scenario that are different. So the I'm sitting to my friend to that lack that training might be so extremely that's right. Who that so success that is that better than adapt because maybe they might have battled against that setup in that long term stuff might have been like that of my and the mirror strength. If that battle as well that like Jane adapt might have easily defeated Jane and that might have been first and after soft like Jane like Jane might have that really lost to like adapt and might have been back to defeated and back to a form of fight adapt and then the point that from that point like the law might have been scenario where like the law of that Jamie by that might have been about to happen when all of a sudden like and different like at that point like Eris Targaryen might have been close to like Jamie and then might have been potentially definitely might have been like scenario that we might be happening. So like at that point like I'm Jamie, to like survive might have totally unexpected form like that and Robert as well might have been at that point might have been along with that might have been like the case that so like at that point like at that very last moment like that Jamie that Jamie that actually describing to like survive might have most likely made that absolute betrayal and lacked and myself from down against Targaryen, while against Targaryen and Jaime might have been back to war, might have been what might have happened. So like Jaime might have done that and might have straight away like towards like Robert and Eddard to like spare Jaime might have been what might have happened to Stephanie, make it very interesting. So definitely that way that and Robert at that point might have told Eddard to like bring Jaime down, but like at that point that it might have been maybe Eddard that might have told made Robert change his mind and told Robert to like uh, along the lines maybe something that has a like Jaime isn't even working might be along the lines that Eddard might have told Robert and usually they might have spared Jaime might have been back then might have been working as a thing. So like since then like a different that Jamie's quite ego might have been badly brought up by Eddard might have been going back and since then I'm looking that Jamie might have been it might have been changed the thing Jamie to that set of response to like Eddard since then might have been like today's technique very right. So like from the current and still in the direction right now for like Jamie without the regular also like impact me once again this again like adapted like it's not that whole and adapt once again pair Jamie like it's not that whole and but like at that point you come to the thing like Jamie told you that surround with adapt at that point like with now that I'm probably doing. So like at that point I'm probably trying Jamie to be really absolutely that to be faith to be absolutely portrayed to the extreme and like Jamie and that most likely shouting out to his like soldiers to that take adapt to take adapt to like the king. It's like not examinable. So I'm looking at that point that Jamie to be was doing good that like Jamie going to be more getting that injury that along with like there's no hope of like Jamie being able to that activity with adapt in like a pattern so that instead Jamie attempting to somehow get something to that light and manipulate to that over. And as if like in an extinction of it and from man up to see that as a attacks that the rage against like Robert attack like throw down a bunch of like soldiers of like the King's Landing to be along the lines of the different like a light that like Jamie making up to like attack and like telling to like something and like that way to that way with from Jamie hoping that will be that so people might get Robert and like through Robert like at that would be dropped down and like the loss of like that will happen to be along the lines of the very man of like Jamie so we hoping and adapting but like I'm doing that in this variety of like game is that late that current by some speed of it's like the scenario that I'm looking at we have to bring that something stopping in like the favor of like and that and basically like at that point cell phones like adapt would be brought to like King Robert like that King Robert like basically telling the guard to like adapt and basically that Robert said we take adapt back as like the hand of the king like him now that I'm looking again so he as well playing who's role in that as well reflecting now that I'm looking like that person like something might be well aware of the situation of that the is the hypothesis of that the typically of like the Dothraki made how he like making it to like taking a plan. So like at that point like Sophie might be totally absolutely determined that person to like take advantage of that attacks person to that and might be most likely seeing that up like that up to such like a sword back which might make it possible for like the so like only practice might make it possible for like the army of the England to be able to like defeat like the local again is to like leave not very in the team right now that like neither Jamie nor Sophie might not have any sort of like probably affectionate genuine affectionate feelings towards Luxurium might be and actually the British Brazilian and they might be actually might be secretly embarrassed about like Jurion but at the same time might be also the theory of that tool of intelligence might be like that to do the case that you know that there might be one country as well as that thing might be accepting of that theory of that to be the intelligent and that way that they might be like to be maybe to theory of as that share valuable to that regardless of the theory on like superior intelligence that theory on might be absolutely and totally blind to this might be that with the case of human selection, regardless of like Theory, the coordinate direction of likely knowing like the future between like the gene and the significance of the end gene, like still Theory might genuinely have that answer properly feeding of like genuine affection towards like gene as well as like the gene might be like as well as the few might be like perfect to the case of me like Theory might be blindly believing that they do the same about like Theory as well might be along the lines that Tyrion might be hopes that a blind to the even to the person might be like activists against the freedom criminal that they like identifying all that blind to the Tyrion lack of the getting shattered in like the distant future